Matt Scratch here, and I wanted to talk to you about something that will probably save you some headaches in the long run if you own an older car. Especially, it's something I do to every car I buy, no matter what I pay for it. And anyone can do this. It's clean up your electrical connections and your grounds, specifically the ones over in this area by the battery. You've got a lot of these eye terminals like this, and they get really corroded up. And what you can do is take a piece of this Scotch pad, and it's made by lots of different brands, and it's sold at auto body supplies because it's normally used in auto body quite a bit, but they work great for cleaning up these electrical connections. You just scrub them up like this. And the reason why I really prefer to use one of these over a piece of sandpaper is for contact area. Sandpaper is somewhat coarse, and when you get scratches in the surface, then you don't have as much contact area as if the surface is really smooth. So you're going to get a better connection when you use a product like this to clean up your connections, and you're more or less polishing the corrosion off rather than sanding it off and digging big grooves in it. Now, some things like this, it's easier to just replace. This is a wear item anyways. This is your starter solenoid. That's what basically switches the power from your battery to your starter, and that has these terminals on it that obviously are badly corroded up, and if this fails, your vehicle's going to fail to start. So yeah, if you were to keep this, what I would do is I would take you can get different coarseness of these wire wheels for your drill. This is a fine one. Like, the bristles are quite soft, so it's great for doing things like this. And you can go around there, and you see, you shine that right up like brand new again. And then what you want to do is take this dielectric grease. There's probably other brands, but I use this Grout brand Ultra Seal. Works really good. And you want to just smear it on and completely coat your connection, and you want to completely coat your eye, and you know, your nut, whatever, because how this stuff works is it's not conductive. It's actually an insulator. And so the idea is, when you put it on, there's some misconceptions about this. I've heard people say that, oh, you'll get a bad connection if you put it there or whatever, like on spark plugs and whatnot. Well, no, that's not true. The idea behind it is that when you put your connector back together, it's going to scrape aside, it's going to scrape off the grease, the dielectric grease, wherever it is contacting, and then it'll have a layer of grease around the area where it's made contact to protect it and seal it off from corroding and losing that contact in the future. So it's not about making a better connection, it's about preserving the connection that you do make. And if you do have your terminal all clean and everything, and you thread it back together, it will make a connection even if it's completely coated with that. The reason why it's non-conductive is if you have something like, well, that's not a good example, but there's, see, a plug like that. If you had a plug like that and the terminals are quite close, and this is how you would apply this stuff like that. So you can see it's smeared over both. So when you plug that in, if it was conductive, you could have some electricity current traveling between the two terminals, basically like a power draw, and that could really harm some of the components on your engine, because on modern engines a lot of the components are super sensitive, sensors and stuff. You could get a bad reading or something if you used a regular conductive grease. So that's why you want to make sure you use the proper non-conductive dielectric grease when you're doing electrical work. And you do want to put this on everything, especially your battery connectors. You can get right inside with this Scotch pad. They do make tools for this, but I roll this up and I get in there and I twist it until it's all shiny, and I go over the surface, and then when I'm done with that, this isn't exactly done. I'm going to do more off camera, but just as an example, I would completely coat that. I would completely coat the terminal on the battery, and then I would put it on. Ones like this with the clamp, you can take the clamp all apart. You can clean out in here. And I mean, this seems basic, but this is what kills older cars. I have literally seen cars that would not start, and I've cleaned all this stuff up and had them start and run perfect. Sometimes they will start, and then you're gonna have it just die after about 5 minutes of running or something. You could get something like that from a bad connection too, because if it's making a low connection, it might have enough to start it, and then after a short time it's going to overheat it because there's not enough contact area. It will overheat the connection, and it will lose its connection, and your vehicle's going to stall out on you, and you're going to wonder why. Well, if you take care of all these grounds and all these electrical connectors from the start, then you're eliminating that as a future possibility, and you're going to make your vehicle that much more reliable. Now even the little electrical plugs like this, you can get in there with a small screwdriver or something and scrape them a bit if they're corroded. That'll help, and then put your dielectric grease on there. You can use these on pretty small terminals to clean them up, so it'll come in handy. You've got your negative battery cable runs down to your engine block. Make sure you take that off the engine block and clean up that ground. You've got a ground strap back here going to the firewall. Always, every vehicle has one back here. You want to make sure you clean that up. It may not seem significant, but trust me, it is. A lot of people don't notice, but electricity actually moves from ground to positive. It doesn't move from positive to ground. So if you don't have a good connection at your ground, you're not going to have a circuit, and your electricity will fail to flow. So it's number one important that your grounds are all clean. I can't stress it enough. On this car, we're also going to do a tune-up. We're going to replace the pickup coil in here inside the distributor. We're going to put a new cap and rotor on it, all that stuff. And one thing I want to point out, we also replaced the ignition coil down here. You can't really see that, but we did put a new one on, and I'm going to throw all these old parts like this pickup coil and stuff, the ones I remove, I'm going to throw them in the trunk along with a small toolkit, at least for the first little bit that this car runs after this tune-up, because I have run into this before and I didn't spend a lot of money on these components. These are cheaper brand China parts. Keep your old parts that are still working, put them in the car. That way, if you're going somewhere and you break down, at least you have your old parts that you could put on to get you home again. Because I had a brand new high quality coil once I put on an old van I had, and I drove it for 10 minutes and it failed, and it was the part's fault. It was nothing to do with the installation or anything else. So it happens to the best of them, so don't that could just save you some headache there if you put your old parts in your vehicle and pack them with you.